sa bagong Pilipinas.
Good evening. This is 13 News.
Let's get into the headlines right now. Solon's back President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s order to remove system loss charges from electricity bills for the benefit of Filipino consumers.
Lawmakers eye higher taxes on vapes and sugary drinks to offset tax relief costs.
A low-pressure area has formed inside the Philippine area of responsibility. Will it develop into a tropical storm?
A day after his sauna, President Marcos Jr. visits a housing project in Davao City. DSUD vows to sustain housing gains.
And in news abroad, a group of horses were released amid wildfires in France.
All these and more, here on 13 News.
First in the news tonight, lawmakers and the energy sector have thrown their support behind President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s call to remove systems loss charges from electricity bills, saying the move could help ease the financial burden on Filipino households.
With both the Senate and the House now pushing related measures, the proposal is gaining momentum from key energy agencies as part of broader efforts to bring down power costs. IBC News correspondent Eliza Insigne has the full report.
This laundry shop in Quezon City has been complaining about their high electric bills for years.
Sa kuryente po kasi yung mga dumating na bill masyadong lumobo po talaga yung kuryente. Lumaki talaga. So dating mga 5K, 5.5 a month, masyadong yung lumobo 8,000 pataas.
Such concerns are familiar to many Filipinos. That is why in his fifth State of the Nation address, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. vowed to lower power costs, including the removal of system loss charges and value-added tax.
Kung pagbawas ng presyo ang usapan, sa aking palagay, panahon na para tanggalin na natin ang systems loss na pinapasa sa consumer. Pinapasa ito sa consumer at kinakarga sa bill na pinapatungan pa ng value-added tax.
The President believes this can be achieved by amending the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001 or EPIRA law.
Therefore, we, the people, we demand for the immediate amendment of the EPIRA. And to prohibit charging systems laws against consumers, including the value-added tax thereon.
The Energy Regulatory Commission expressed support to the President's initiative, saying it is for policy reforms for the benefit of Filipino consumers. The Energy Department also seconded the move.
The thread that binds all of these tasks is gusto ng Presidente na babaan yung presyo ng electricity. That is why we have to work on system loss. Kailangan ayusin yung mag-prepare na for nuclear, tapusin na yung mga renewable energy project, more upstream projects and green energy auction. So yan po, ultimately, that the objective of all of that will lower the electricity costs.
However, Meralco, the largest power utility distributor, responded by urging consideration of its operational impact. But it vowed to work closely with the government, regulators, and legislators in pursuing reforms for consumer protection. Meanwhile, in the Senate, Senator Erwin Tulfo filed 2 bills and 1 resolution addressing system loss charges, energy tax, and VAT on electricity bills. Among Tulfo's proposals are Senate Resolution 537 to investigate system loss charges, Senate Bill 2239 to repeal the energy tax law, and Senate Bill 2340 to exempt system loss charges from VAT.
Medyo malaki-laki rin po ang mababawas kasi kung alisan po natin ang VAT po is 12%. Ang systems loss is 5 to 10%. Tapos may government tax pa po. Pag inalis po natin itong lahat, ay malaki yung kabawasan, di po ba? Ang sinasabi nila, ang kapalit daw po nito ay yung competition, kaya pababaan. Pero alam naman ho natin na BS ho yun. Wala po nagpapababaan dito. Nagpapataasan po sila.
While in the House, Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco says he will refile a measure seeking to remove system loss charges for immediate discussion. According to an economist, lower electricity prices could have a good impact on the country's economy.
Pag napababa natin ang presyo ng kuryente, hindi lang magbebenepisyo si Juan, Maria, Nene at Pedro. Mas maraming maaakit rin na investments, no? Lalo na sa panlabas. Isa yan sa mga nirereklamo kasi ng mga foreign investors, the cost of doing business. Pag pinababa ang kuryente, cost ng kuryente, mas maraming magkaka-interest na mag-invest dito sa ating bansa.
In his SONA, the president also pushed for the Sariling Kuryente Act to promote renewable energy and reduce electricity costs. Alyssa Insigne, IBC News.
The Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, has welcomed President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s proposal to raise the income tax exemption threshold to provide greater relief to Filipino middle-income earners. The agency is also backing other proposals aimed at easing the burden on small businesses and taxpayers. IBC News correspondent Cristal Ramizares has more.
Hindi natin kaliligtaan ang ating mga manggagawang Pilipino, lalo na ang mga middle class, pati na ang mga maliliit na negosyo.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. made clear how the Middle East crisis also affected Filipinos that fall under the middle class category. Hence, in his fifth State of the Nation address, the president aims to include above minimum wage earners to those exempted in paying income taxes. The current tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or TRAIN law only exempts individuals who earns not more than 250,000 pesos annually. The president is urging Congress to expand the exemption threshold to 350,000 pesos yearly.
Dagdagan natin ang mga manggagawang malilibre sa buwis sa kanilang kita. Isasama na natin ang mga kumikita ng hindi lalagpas sa 350,000 pesos kada taon.
The Department of Labor and Employment supports the president's initiative, saying more Filipino workers across the country will benefit from it. This also means that more of each paycheck may stay in the hands of middle-class workers. But to make this possible, the DOLE chief said amendments to the National Internal Revenue Code are needed. Under the current Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, the minimum corporate income tax of a business entity is 2% of its gross income in a year. To help small business owners, the president also seeks to eliminate these taxes.
Ang mga maliliit na negosyo ay hindi napapatawan ng minimum corporate income tax.
He likewise proposed a tax amnesty to provide relief to ease the burden of taxpayers amid the rising cost of living.
Para mapanatag ang loob ng taong bayan, ang pagbigay ng amnesty para sa mga hindi nabayarang buwis tulad ng income tax, estate at donors tax at value-added tax. Kasama na rin dyan ang mga multa na kaakibat ng mga ito.
The president emphasized in his SONA that these tax relief measures aim to promote growth and socio-economic sustainability among taxpayers. Cristal Ramizares, IBC News.
Congress is eyeing higher taxes on vape products as a way to balance the books. House Ways and Means Committee Chair and Marikina Representative Miro Kimbo says the government can offset a 50 billion peso revenue loss from President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s proposed tax relief package by raising levies on vapes, tobacco, sugary drinks, and single-use plastics. The president's tax exemption order could slash government revenues by 50 billion pesos. Kimbo insists this can be recovered through taxes that also promote public health and environmental protection. At the center of the plan, higher taxes on vape products. Kimbo describes vaping as one of the fastest-growing public health concerns, especially among the youth. Lawmakers are also considering expanding taxes on sugar-sweetened beverages to include more products linked to diabetes.
Meanwhile, a day after his State of the Nation address, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. personally witnessed the issuance of discharge papers to patients at the Davao de Oro Provincial Hospital Montevista who benefited from the zero balance billing program. The president also inspected the hospital's new medical ward and other upgraded facilities. From the Office of the President, more than 147 million pesos under the Socio-Civic Projects Fund was granted for the hospital's rehabilitation after the magnitude magnitude 7.8 earthquake last June. The chief executive assured continued expansion of healthcare services through modernization of public hospitals and programs that ease patient expenses. President Marcos Jr. also launched the Bawat Bayan Makikinabang program in Nabunturan, Davao de Oro, where 565 barangays were given cash assistance. According to PBBM, nearly 37,000 barangays nationwide have already received 200,000 pesos each in financial aid under the Socio-Civic Projects Fund. The president also led the distribution of agricultural machinery, farm inputs to farmer beneficiaries, and education support to presidential scholars. He vowed that the program will continue until all 42,000 barangays across the country receive assistance.
Kung maging maganda ang resulta nitong programa na sinimula natin ngayon, basta't maging maganda ang resulta nito, ay patitiyakin natin, palalakihin pa natin yung pondong yan.
More housing programs for Filipinos. This was assured by the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, or DSUD, vowing to sustain housing gains under the expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program. This after President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. cited in his fifth SONA the agency's accomplishments. From July 2022 to June 2026, DSUD has delivered more than 575,000 housing units, already half of its 1.13 million target by the end of President Marcos's term. Such achievement reflects the joint efforts of government, local units, and the private sector. According to DSUD Secretary Jose Ramon Aliling, this inspires the agency to work even harder to give more Filipino families safe, decent, and affordable homes.
The government is rolling out measures to lessen the impact of the latest fuel price hike triggered by the continuing tension in the Middle East. Motorists are once again facing higher fuel prices as the Middle East continues to disrupt the global oil market. Today, another round of fuel price hikes took effect. 6 pesos and 80 centavos per liter for gasoline, 7 pesos and 30 centavos for diesel, and 4 pesos and 20 centavos for kerosene. The Department of Energy says it is closely monitoring the implementation of the price adjustment.
Imbes na silang mag-decide, dati sila nagde-decide niyan kung ano yung increase nila. Ngayon po, dinidiktahan na ng DOE kung ano yung maximum or minimum adjustments na allowed lang nila.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the government will continue its uplift agenda to help Filipinos cope with rising fuel and commodity prices through fuel subsidies, food programs, and other assistance.
Lahat ng posibleng gawin para mababa ang presyo at mapabagal ang pagtaas nito, ginawa natin.
The government also assured a stable oil supply, continued support for overseas Filipino workers affected by the Middle East conflict, and the expansion of programs including Kadiwa stores, the Benting Bigas Meron Na, and assistance for farmers and fisherfolk. A low-pressure area has formed east of eastern Visayas, but it is not expected to develop into a tropical depression. However, according to Pag-asa, it will move toward Samar Island, Bicol region, and Aurora province in the next 2 to 3 days, bringing rains to major parts of the country until Friday. Heavy rainfall is expected tonight in those areas. Meanwhile, easterlies and localized thunderstorms are affecting the remaining parts of the country, including Metro Manila. Cloudy skies with scattered rains are still likely until tomorrow.
A magnitude 7.1 earthquake rocked Japan's Kumamoto prefecture today. The tremor was felt in the country's southern Kyushu island at 4:35 in the afternoon Japan time. Several houses were reduced to rubble, fires broke out, and large cracks tore through asphalt pavements as 45,000 households lost power in the quake. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi reported that at least 50 people were injured, but the death toll has yet to be confirmed. Japan has lifted its tsunami alert 2 hours after the quake. Meanwhile, Pag-asa assured that there will be no tsunamis affecting the Philippines. Coming up next, lawmakers are fast-tracking tax and power reforms under the president's legislative agenda. Stay tuned. This is 13 News.
Bagong Pilipinas. Mahalaga ang kapakanan ng bawat isa. Lahat ng aspeto ng lipunan pinagtutuunan ng pansin ng pamahalaan at ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Bagong Pilipinas, PBBM, Lingkod ng Bayan. Tuwing Linggo, alas 8:30 ng umaga.
Welcome back to the program. The Department of Justice has approved the filing of multiple cases against the so-called 18 Maleta boys and attorney Levido Baligod. They face 10 separate informations, including 6 counts of cyber libel and 4 counts of perjury, while Baligod will also be charged in certain cases and in one separate cyber libel complaint. The cases stemmed from complaints involving the statements of the 18 respondents regarding the flood control kickback scheme. Presenting themselves as former aides of Zaldico, they alleged distributing suitcases full of cash to some lawmakers and officials. According to the DOJ, the cases will proceed before the appropriate courts. Still on flood control irregularities, the Office of the Ombudsman has vowed to press forward with its investigation, especially after it was directed by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to hold those involved accountable. In a statement, the Ombudsman says it will continue to ensure accountability, no favor asked, none given. This while also assuring steady, fair, and fearless process on the basis of evidence and law. The Ombudsman also welcomed the fact that it can freely carry out its mandate even when investigations reach close to the president. Today, the Ombudsman confirmed that it has ordered former House Speaker Martin Romualdez and other respondents to submit counter-affidavits to answer charges against them in connection with anomalous flood control projects. Romualdez earlier said he is ready to answer complaints, but stood firm that he hasn't done anything against the law and that he is ready to prove it.
Lawmakers are wasting no time acting on President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s legislative agenda during his SONA. At the House of Representatives, Solons have started moving key measures, including tax reforms and relief for electricity consumers. IBC News correspondent Earl Tobias filed this report.
The House of Representatives started processing pending bills for deliberation during today's session. House Speaker Faustino D. assured the public that the chamber will move quickly to act on the legislative reforms ordered by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. during his State of the Nation address. House Deputy Speaker Raymond Mendoza said the president's proposal to expand income tax exemptions will directly benefit middle-class workers. According to Deputy Speaker Mendoza, the measure would finally provide relief to middle-class employees who continue to shoulder rising living costs, yet are rarely eligible for government assistance programs. House Ways and Means Committee Chairperson Miro Kimbo said the committee will fast-track the tax reform bill in the House with the goal of securing its approval before the end of August.
Tina-target talaga dito are yung ordinary workers at saka middle-income employees na madalas napapabayaan. Ito yung sektor na hindi nakakatanggap ng ayuda. So ito yung pamamaraan ng gobyerno, ng ating Pangulo, para magkaroon sila ng direct benefit.
Lawmakers also expressed their support behind the president's order to immediately halt the collection of systems loss charges from electricity consumers. The House leadership and several House members already agreed in unison that such systems loss charge is outrightly unfair. Several lawmakers already expressed their plan to file the necessary House bill to begin the hearings. Chairperson Kimbo also said his committee will review which value-added taxes imposed on consumers can be reduced in line with the President's directive.
Ang kuryente may tatlong hakbang. Sa bawat step po na yan na isang transaction, nag-i-impose tayo ng 12%, iisa't isang produkto lang naman eh. So bakit tatlong beses natin pinapatawan ng VAT?
Meanwhile, Deputy Speaker Janet Garin stressed that the President's call to review the value-added tax imposed on essential goods, including medicines and agricultural products, is a reasonable approach rather than a shotgun solution that some critics have described. Earl Tobias, IBC News.
Motorists can now pass through Culiat Bridge 2 along Congressional Avenue in Quezon City. This after the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, quickly repaired the asphalt damaged by a fire under the bridge last July 11. Right now, only light vehicles are allowed to pass and travel toward EDSA and Mindanao Avenue. The agency is still studying a permanent solution to the bridge damage. But once completed, the repairs will allow heavier vehicles to safely use the route again.
The Philadelphia 76ers have given NBA superstar LeBron James a royal welcome after he officially signed with the team. The Sixers took to social media to share a photo of James' number 23 blue jersey, complete with a crown as a tribute to his King James nickname. Fans flooded social media with messages of support as James now prepares for his new NBA campaign under a 2-year, $8 million contract with the Sixers. And after a heartwarming welcome in the Philippines, Filipina tennis star Alex Ayala is set for a tough first-round match at the Mubadala DC Open in Washington, D.C., United States. Ayala will open her hard-court campaign against 2024 Paris Olympic gold medalist Qin Wang Zheng of China. The two last met at the 2023 Asian Games, where Zheng defeated Ayala. The blockbuster round of 32 matches set to begin tomorrow at 1 a.m.
This year's San Diego Comic-Con was filled with major announcements from Marvel Studios. Fans went crazy as Ryan Gosling took the stage following the reveal of the new Ghost Rider. Directed by Sean Levy, the film is scheduled to hit theaters on 2028. Meanwhile, Ryan Coogler introduced David Johnson as the new Black Panther. Coogler will write and direct Black Panther 3, which is also set to be released in 2028. Ryan Reynolds also made a surprise appearance at the con as he went in fully disguised as Deadpool. Meanwhile, the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, or MTRCB, has summoned producers of noontime show It's Showtime. The move follows complaints over alleged racist and colorist remarks made during the program's July 24 episode. The board said host Vice Ganda was specifically identified in several complaints filed by concerned citizens. Representatives have been directed to appear before the MTRCB for a hearing tomorrow, July 29. In news abroad, U.S. President Donald Trump is set to hold separate talks at the White House with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Meanwhile, 30 nations have gathered in the Pacific to take part in the world's largest international maritime exercise. Let's have more of these international developments with CJ Reyes.
In Washington, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky are scheduled to hold separate meetings with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House as the conflicts in Iran and Ukraine remain major international concerns. Both leaders are also in Washington to attend the funeral of late U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. Amid the continuing war between Ukraine and Russia, Zelensky is expected to see continued U.S. support during his meeting with Trump. Although relations between the two leaders have faced strains in the past, recent weeks have signaled a more cooperative tone. Meanwhile, despite recent tensions between Trump and Netanyahu following the U.S. president's criticism of the Israeli leader, the two are set to hold another high-level meeting at the White House. Netanyahu said he aims to discuss Israel's security, regional stability, and efforts to expand peace. U.S. supercarrier USS Theodore Roosevelt led a formation sail off the coast of Hawaii during this year's Rim of the Pacific, or RIMPAC exercise. Hosted by the U.S. Navy, RIMPAC is the world's largest maritime exercise, with 30 participating nations including the Philippines, the United States, Australia, Canada, and Japan. Meanwhile, a herd of horses were released by a riding center in southwestern France in an attempt to evacuate them amid the massive wildfires across France and Spain. The fires have forced the evacuation of thousands of residents as firefighters continue to battle some of Europe's most devastating wildfires in recent years. CJ Reyes, IBC News.
Before we wrap up tonight's newscast, we bring you the results of the PCSO's 9 p.m. lottery draws. For the Lotto 642, the winning numbers are 41, 3, 7, 39, 25, and 24 with a jackpot price of 10,466,741 pesos and 76 centavos. For the Super Lotto 649, the winning combination is 5, 13, 15, 37, 21, and 40 with a jackpot price of 25 million pesos. For the Ultra Lotto 658, the winning combination is 32, 48, 34, 55, 30, and 7 with a jackpot price of 164,653,649 pesos and 18 centavos. For the 6D Lotto, the winning combination in exact order is 2, 5, 8, 7, 9, and 4. For the 3D Lotto, the winning numbers are 2, 5, and 1. And finally, for the 2D Lotto draw, the winning numbers are 28 and 7. There are winners for the Lotto 642 and Super Lotto 649. Tomorrow, all eyes will be on the Senate as the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte is set to resume in the morning. Senators are expected to tackle pending procedural matters and continue deliberations as the impeachment court moves to the case. The resumption follows previous development on the articles of impeachment and the trial for the proceedings. Meanwhile, the outcome of the session could determine the next phase of the trial.
What do you think about that, William?
Well, I guess it's back to work tomorrow after sauna, and now we are getting back to business of basically where we left off. So it's going to be a busy week.
For sure, I agree.
And those were the latest from the IBC newsroom this evening.
We'll continue to monitor the stories that matter and give you updates as they develop. I'm Angela C.
And I am William Thio. This is 13 News. Thank you for watching. Good night, everyone.